The Seriously Dough podcast. I'm Ken Platt.
I'm Shane Happy.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, we are live. It says live starting in... Are we such amateurs? Oh, here we are. We're now live. Hey, welcome to the Seriously Dough podcast. I'm Ken Platt.
I'm Shane Happy.
And we are delighted and excited and très bien, I don't know the French word for excited. Do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, we're excited today because we are talking King Cakes and we are Facebook Live today. So if if you're catching this Facebook Live, then chime in, let us know that you're here. I will be looking at our comment section. But this is the first time we're going live. Shane, how are you feeling about that?
I'm nervous about it.
I'm nervous too.
I don't know why I suggested it, but we're here.
Yeah, this was not in the original plan, but Shane's like, hey, we ought to do that. And what's crazy is that Shane and I are no strangers to speaking in front of a live audience.
Literally do it every week. And we're streamed live.
Yeah, we are live streamed every week. and so we shouldn't be strangers to this. But today we're talking about King Cakes. But first of all, if you're here, make sure you chime in, say hi, make sure you like, share, review, all that other stuff with the podcast. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's pretty unusual that we just had an episode 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And we're back here. So, hey, how was the musical?
It was great. It was great. I had a good time doing it, and I spent all of last week just feeling like I had something that I was supposed to be doing, and I didn't. It was a busy time, but it was a great time too.
Yeah, it's this big letdown. Not a letdown, but it's like, oh, I was so busy, and now I'm not anymore.
That's right.
But you did a great job.
I appreciate that.
For one show, I was directly in front of you.
That's right.
I was looking at your face the entire time.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was the second night when one of the characters decided to throw their jacket. It hit you directly in the back of the head.
Landed right.
and you took it in stride. It was so good. You just kind of let it hit your head, and you just kept going, and it was excellent for sure.
You had me obsessively checking the tuning on my guitar too. Just you came up and was like, "Do you tune throughout the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, I tune almost after every song." And you're like, one of the guitars were out of tune, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me, so I was okay with that.
Yeah, it was pretty rough at times. I'm like, is that Shane? I don't think Shane would let that happen, but maybe Shane isn't as good of a musician as I thought he was. And
well, both of those are true. So. Yeah.
Well, so today we are talking King Cakes today, and King Cakes are a traditional. So it's a traditional Mardi Gras,
right.
Mardi Gras thing, and we're doing this today because today is in fact Fat Tuesday.
Yep.
Which is what, if you don't know what Mardi Gras means actually means Fat Tuesday, and so that's what we're talking today. We thought this would be a cool thing to do. I made a king cake last year for Fat Tuesday, but did you know, Shane, that we are coming up on our 1-year anniversary?
I know. This is, I think, the start of season 2, right? We determined after last episode.
I think so, yep.
We are in season 2. This is the season premiere.
This is the season premiere, which is why we're going live. This is a new thing. So we'll just wait for y'all to jump on and comment, but it's not looking too promising right now, Shane. I'm not seeing anything. No viewers, no comments.
It's a good thing that Facebook will save it and people can view it at their convenience.
That is right. Here's your sign. So anyways, we are, so we're talking King Cakes today. It is Mardi Gras, and Mardi Gras is traditionally a season of debauchery and craziness in New Orleans.
Yep.
I guess that's the thing it gets, but it's not supposed to be that. Fat Tuesday is actually the day before the Christian holiday, or the Christian season of Lent.
Right.
Are you doing an Ash Wednesday service tomorrow?
I'm not, no.
We are. So I've been asked by a lot of people. They're like, well, why are you doing Ash Wednesday? Because as people come into, our church is more contemporary in general. So when they come into a contemporary church, they're not expecting that. They're not expecting more liturgical stuff.
Right.
But one of the things I always find is Fat Tuesday is almost this day of, hey, eat what you can,
right.
Because tomorrow begins Lent, and Lent begins a season of fasting and reflection.
Yep.
Now you are stepping into Lent in a season of fasting
Correct.
and reflection.
Yeah, I have called our church to a time of fasting throughout Lent. Biblical fasting, so fasting from food. So not just giving up something for Lent.
So they're going the full 40 days no food?
Not full 40 days. I encourage them to do what God, to pray about it, see what God lays on their heart,
Yeah.
and to pursue that. So a lot of them will be fasting from a meal. Some of them will be fasting for a day or multiple days at a time.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody that's taken on a full 40-day fast, but I left that on the table too as an option for folks. So
Yeah, I've known a few people who've done a full 40-day
Me too.
fast, and it's a pretty powerful experience, and there's a lot of things that come out of that. So, but people shouldn't do that unless they've practiced fasting
Correct.
as a general practice for a while,
Yep.
for at least a year, I would say. But with that, with the season of fasting, and even Ash Wednesday, one of the things I love about Ash Wednesday, we celebrated it growing up because I grew up in a traditional church, and it's just these like seasons where I think sometimes we forget to like stop, and if we don't put these markers in our calendars that say, hey, we should take some time to step back, to reflect, and to enter into a season of repentance and into a season of reflection. And look towards the cross. And that's what Mardi Gras is. If you're wondering, it's this idea of like, all right, we're going to, go all gluttonous on Fat Tuesday, and then we're going to start our fast tomorrow on Ash Wednesday through Easter, which, when we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. But I actually got, so in Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania Dutch country, traditionally during Fat Tuesday, we've had Fastnachts. You ever heard of Fastnachts?
nope.
So Fastnachts are donuts. They're like donuts, but they're more lard. There's a lot of lard and potatoes going on.
Yeah.
So there's a girl in my church named Sarah who invited us to Donut Day at her house, and it's been this tradition in her family for years, like generations, where their family would go to her house and they'd make these donuts, and so it was so cool to be invited to that. And I almost thought that maybe we should have had a live on site of Donut Day, because they had, Shane, these bowls were enormous, and it was full of donut dough, and they put potatoes in it and milk and yeast, but enormous, excessive amounts. And then they sit there with a 16-inch iron skillet. Now they used to do it over a wood stove.
Wow.
And it was hard to regulate the temperature on the wood stove, so it would get too hot. You used to have to wear like special gloves so they wouldn't burn themselves. But on Sunday, I made glaze all afternoon.
Yeah.
And they told me, well, that's where you're standing, so you get to make the glaze. And luckily, making glaze is not hard at all.
Right. Yeah.
But they just hours. They were turning donuts, and
That's cool.
And they were so good.
Nothing beats a fresh donut.
Oh my gosh, they were warm and so fatty, and like they were actually cooking them in lard.
Yeah.
Like, honest to goodness. So anyway,
Next year, season 3.
season 3 we'll start with Donut Day. So Sarah, if you're listening, just to let you know, the Seriously Dough's coming to your house for Donut Day. But they make excessive amounts of donuts, and they end up having like, they give away like a lot of them.
That's cool.
And so it was really cool. But I remember when I was going to school in York, Pennsylvania, Fat Tuesday was Fashna Day, and so
Okay.
like that was part of it. You'd go to like Maple Donuts, or they have them in all the stores, just these plain, or you get powdered or sugar, whatever.
I don't think I've ever had one. Once you said that it was a donut, that clicked something.
Yeah,
so I've
yeah.
seen them, but I don't know that I've ever had one.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
It's definitely not anything like, it's not a normal donut that you've had before.
Right,
But it's
right.
it's definitely something different. But it's really good. But that's Fat Tuesday. And even growing up, did you ever like celebrate Fat Tuesday at all, or?
No, I wouldn't have. School would have done like a Mardi Gras thing, and
Yeah.
the whole bead debauchery thing. So that would have been a thing, but for the most part, no, it wasn't we didn't do anything with that. Or Ash Wednesday growing up, I didn't really do anything.
So before Ash Wednesday, so since our church celebrated Ash Wednesday, we'd have Tuesday night, we would do a pancake dinner.
Yeah.
Where the men would go into the kitchen and they would cook all these pancakes, and it would be like a Fat Tuesday segment. So I have a lot of like memories of actual Fat Tuesday stuff. But I made a king cake last year, just for fun. It was right before we started the Seriously Dough podcast, and I was just kind of like, yeah, let's try this out, let's do it. And my king cake last year was different than my king cake this year. But let's talk about king cakes. What do you know about king cakes?
So I went a different route than yours. So you did like the New Orleans style king cake. I did the French style king cake. So I'm going to say this once, and then from the rest of the episode, it is going to be just called a king cake.
Okay, yeah, let's.
So the French traditional king cake is called a galette de roi.
Oh, you did that so well.
We didn't practice or anything
Shame.
for 5 minutes before, but
But the traditional Mardi Gras thing is let the good times roll, which is laissez les bons temps rouler. Laissez les bons temps rouler. There we go. I did it once.
Yeah.
Laissez les bons temps rouler. Yeah. If you want to go, there's some great YouTube videos that we watched right before this to make sure that we got the words proper.
Yeah.
So, man, I hope the sound's coming through on this. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so I did the French style, which came about in the 13th, 14th century. It was a traditional kind of pastry bake style cake. And the idea is they would gather. It started at the time of Epiphany, so sometime in January usually is when they would eat these kind of cakes.
Yeah.
But it would go all the way up until Ash Wednesday that they would have them. And
So why would it start at Epiphany?
so this would have been like the church's observance of when the Magi came and visited baby Jesus, bringing the gifts to him. So this is a kind of the time that they would remember that and celebrate that event taking place. So they would do that. They would gather together and they would slice up the cake into portions, and they would each take one, and there's some sort of prize inside the cake. So traditionally it's a fava bean, which I was all out of fava beans in my house. I said to Medina, what are we doing? We don't have any fava beans in the house.
Such a savage. I can't believe you.
And so, but they would have that in the cake, and whoever got that would get to be king or queen for the day. They would enjoy being, the role of the king, but they would also be the one responsible for hosting the party and providing the king cake the following year.
Yes. Yep.
Which was pretty cool. But one of the things that I really like that they do, and that's the time of Lent is important for this, is you give to the poor, right? So what they do with the king cakes is they would slice it up, but they would reserve one slice for the traveler or the poor to be able to give to them.
Oh wow, yeah.
And they too would have the chance of being king. So that's cool. What's kind of neat about it. And so for mine that I made, which we'll show the pictures of it here in a little bit, I didn't have a bean, and I told you I was going to put a pinto bean in, but it blended perfectly with the almond filling. And so I didn't want you to break a tooth.
Am I going to choke on a pinto bean?
So I ended up putting just a big old almond in it.
Oh, okay.
So that way, if you get the almond, you get to be king. I had all the intentions of remembering where I put it, but I don't remember. So it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. You had the more traditional New Orleans king cake. Do you want to talk about that, or
well, interestingly enough, my mom, we bought my parents the 23andMe what's it called, the genetic testing to find out what your lineage is and what your bloodline is. No, there were not many surprises, except that on my mom's side, it's like 95% French and German, right? So like a mixture of French and German. And I was like, I could be French, which means I should be able to say laissez le bon temps rouler really like fluently. Oh, yeah, I'm getting better at that.
You are.
Do you see that? It's just kind of rolled off my tongue. But it was just kind of a neat. I was like, oh my gosh, we are French. This is neat. Maybe, I don't know. Like, obviously, we're not culturally French,
right?
Because we carry none of those trappings. But I did also find out I was Irish. which is also coming soon. The whole Irish thing is, well, it is March 1st. So,
Yep.
but so found out a couple of, but yeah, I made a traditional New Orleans, when the French and Spanish settlers came over, they brought the king cake over, and the king cake morphed into, obviously an Americanized version of, any pastry is going to move beyond what you made, which is gorgeous, into something a little more tchotchke, which is what I made.
But it's New Orleans. Like, you look at it, and
Right.
it's like, that's a New Orleans cake.
Right. So I'm going to move the camera a little bit here. Actually, I won't move the camera. I'll just move the cake. So this is my cake right here. It's, if you can see, we ate some of it last night, but it's got the traditional purple, green, and gold, which stands for peace, power, and justice.
Okay.
Is the three colors that are used for Mardi Gras. But also, why don't you show them yours?
Yeah.
So it really does focus in on the holiday. But you're right; they start appearing in bakeries in New Orleans.
There
It is gorgeous, just gorgeous. So they start appearing in New Orleans, in the bake shops at Epiphany, but definitely like reach a fevered pitch at Mardi Gras, and are definitely a part of that. But while yours would have a fava bean, the New Orleans style would have a baby in it.
Yeah.
And it used to be a porcelain baby, but porcelain babies were scarce, like they were harder to come by, so they started making plastic babies. But nowadays, if you were to buy a king cake in New Orleans now, you would find that they put the baby in the box with it. They don't bake it into, because people are a little sensitive about plastic being cooked into their bread. I can't
And
imagine
just the
why.
notion of throwing the baby into the oven.
Yeah, that could be a little.
Side story and fun story. My grandmother was a twin,
Okay.
and when she was born, they did not think she was going to make it. And the doctors had what would have been my great grandmother throw my grandmother into the oven to let the oven heat her up and incubate her, basically.
What?
And it saved her life.
Are you kidding me?
Honest to goodness. Yep.
Shame.
That is the story of Velma and Wilma Jones. Yeah, Velma and Wilma Jones. Yep.
So your grandmother literally got thrown in the oven.
Correct.
When you were.
Yep. She was born and put in the oven and saved her life.
So
back to king cakes.
So back to king cakes.
Yeah.
So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to shove it into the cake, somewhere underneath, and then you cover it up, and then whoever gets it, it's the same thing. You're king for a day, but you also have to host the party the next year. So
why the baby?
I think it's baby Jesus.
It is.
Yeah. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. But so in New Orleans, I forget what is it, the Pelicans? What's the New Orleans basketball team?
That's the Pelicans.
Yeah, so the New Orleans basketball team, they have a king cake baby that comes out at Mardi Gras. Have you ever seen pictures of this thing?
No.
Terrifying. Like it's an adult.
Oh,
And
no.
they put together almost like this like mummer style outfit, like it's this like big weird looking baby head with a crown on it, and it says "I love Mardi Gras" on the bib, and like it's
Creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
It is really, like, you look at pictures of this thing, you're like, oh, somebody thought that was a good idea. But like I think it's interesting also, just these little trinkets of ingenuity, I guess, in regards to like putting stuff inside the cake to add like that extra bit of what have you to add to the celebration and to add to something fun. So tell us about your cake exactly, and
Okay, so
why don't you cut me a piece and I'll eat it while we chat about it.
So for what I ended up doing, it's pretty straightforward in the sense of there's not a whole lot of ingredients for it, but I'll let you end up getting that while I talk. I can't multitask in that regard. It's basically puff pastry. So I made the homemade puff pastry. It's
gorgeous.
And I did the French method for that, which is the folding the the dough into the butter. And
It's still warm, Shane.
good. And
Wow.
then in the center of it is an almond kind of paste. So I used almond meal, and it's like an egg and a little bit of sugar, and pretty easy. And then you just do 2 layers, a top layer and a bottom layer of the puff pastry, and you bake it, and you have a pretty design on top, and it's straightforward.
Wow.
How is it?
Shane, that is so good.
Okay, good. It's nerve-wracking. So normally they don't get to see this live in the sense we normally do things in one take, but it's nerve-wracking because a lot of times we don't try the thing beforehand. So it's
Right.
kind of and I've never had a galette des rois before, and so it's like
Shane, this is so good. You could sell this for like $40.
Okay.
Like people would pay that. Like it's so good.
yeah.
Like it is, like all the butters here. Like I'm here for the butter.
Yeah.
Like all the butters here. The filling's really good, and it's super flaky on the top and the bottom, right? So not a lot of that moisture got to the bottom, so you have the flakiness and the crunchiness on both sides,
Okay.
which is kind of unusual. Like it's hard to do that. So really awesome job.
Thank you.
I don't think I got the almond though.
Probably not.
I'm not the king this year.
Yeah.
So what made you choose this over like a New Orleans?
So I
style?
kind of when you said let's do king cakes, I knew I was familiar with the New Orleans king cake, but I looked up the history, and so it said that it was from the French pastry style king cake that came many years before the New Orleans style, and so I started researching that and seeing what was involved with making those, and I was like, oh, I'll give that a try, because I kind of knew you were going for the New Orleans style, and to give a kind of a different take on it, to see where it came from, and the historical bake for that. They knew what they were doing back in the day.
Oh my heavens, that is phenomenal. Okay, wow, that slice probably had, I don't know, roughly 800 calories worth of your daily.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, so I just have to. I've got galette des rois stuck to my gums. Okay, that was good. So let's talk about mine as a New Orleans style. So basically, it's a sweetbread.
Oh, we had one viewer. They hopped on and then
Hey, hi, how are you?
Hey, wait,
it's so
come
nice
back.
to see you.
We're not
you're-
desperate or
Oh,
anything.
you're gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was really short-lived.
Yeah.
Okay. As you can see, folks, we're not desperate or anything.
No, not at all.
They like us. They really like us. Oh, maybe not. So anyway, somebody was just curious, and
Yeah.
then curiosity was.
Like, I like
Dude.
this page. Seriously, Dough Podcast. What in the world is that?
Who are they? Oh, no, they're. So the New Orleans style. So it's a sweetbread recipe. I got this off of Barbara Bake's website, and she does a lot of. Betty Crocker asks her to do numerous recipes. So I found a few recipes off her website that Betty Crocker has actually asked her to do it. I think it's a her.
I'm going to cut while you talk.
Yeah, cut while I talk. So it's a sweetbread. It's a basic sweetbread using pasteurized yeast instead of just regular yeast.
Okay.
So instead of for the first rise, quote unquote, it went into the fridge and it chilled for an hour. And then pulled it out, made the cinnamon mixture, rolled it out, spread the cinnamon mixture, cut it in half, or flipped it over and made like an envelope, sealed everything up, and then cut 3 strips, and then I twist and braided it, so you can see how I twisted it. And then I let it rise for another hour.
Okay.
Out on the counter, and then I popped it in the oven. But it rose violently in the oven. Like once I put it in the oven, it almost like another 50% in size. But yeah, that's it. It's just cinnamon. There's a lot of butter. There's probably a stick of butter in that.
It's it?
In that whole thing.
Amateur.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Do you know how much is in that?
Probably 4 sticks of butter.
Probably 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was for the dough, and then also for the almond.
Oh, the almond filling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel my heart rate increasing. My blood pressure just spiked a little bit.
It's worth it.
Yeah, so tell me about it a little bit. I don't know, you didn't get a really good cinnamon part.
No, I'm gonna go back in for it. But with that being said, I taste the cinnamon in it.
Yeah.
So it's incorporated in it. It's yummy. It is. It's like a cinnamon roll, but not like a cinnamon roll. at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time.
I was wondering about
And so it's the icing plays a good role in it, and same with the sugar on top. So you have the what do they call that kind of sugar?
that. It's like sparkle sugar.
Like it's like a sparkle, yeah, but it gives like a
Yeah,
crunch
yeah,
to it.
yeah.
It breaks up it adds a different texture to it, the sweetness to it, which works really well with the bread. It's delicious.
Excellent.
It is yummy.
Thanks, man. So that's King Cakes for today.
Yep.
And I think that's all we have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that.
We get to eat some more.
We're gonna sit here and eat some more, and thank you so much for listening today. Again, like, share, review, email us, message us, whatever it takes to reach us and communicate us. We're glad to communicate back and talk with you. And not sure what our next bake is gonna be.
Nope, and we might try the Facebook Live again too, where it's not just a spur of the moment decision, but we might give some heads up to
Yeah,
some folks
yeah.
and see how that works. And
Absolutely. So maybe we can have some more viewers, and
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we might try next time is to share it
yeah,
on our Facebook pages as soon as we go live. So, thanks again for joining us, and hey, have a great day, and praying for a good season of Lent for you guys.
That's right.
And at the heart of who Shane and I are ultimately, we love for you guys to just encounter God and encounter Jesus during this season.
take time to slow down, reflect, recalibrate your heart,
Absolutely.
and lean into His blessings.
That's what the season before Easter is all about. So blessings to you guys, and we will talk to you soon.